Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. And today I am really pleased to have with me on the line Kawan Karadaghi. Kawan is the host of ValueVerse. And after many years and trials of self-discovery, Kawan stumbled into the fitness industry where he co-owns and operates three gyms and counting. So, as the host of the ValueVerse podcast, he deep dives into stories of entrepreneurs, influencers, and thought leaders, further guiding listeners on the journey to success and learning from failures in business and in life. So, Kawan, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
Jeff, thanks so much for having me on. Love it and love the concept of the show as well.
Thank you so much. I was wondering if you can take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today. So you have a pretty diverse background. You have a podcast going on. You own three gyms. You also do a lot of coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to be so amazing today?
Hey, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. I have to live up to that. I basically I moved into a to the West Coast in my mid 20s there. Just after a lot of ups and a lot of downs, into kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And after going there, it's kind of where I literally stumbled into it after a great mentor sort of took an interest in me. And from there, I just literally ran with it. Like I went on a run and then I stuck to it and just ran. And I improved one thing about my life one day at a time. And then that led to just more improvements in other areas. And it just led to a big, like, sort of quest of finding out who I was and what I was good at and what I was capable of doing, or actualizing that potential. And one thing led to another. I became a trainer, a personal trainer. So then I eventually reached master level. And then, I met so many more mentors along the way. And I don't really think that ever stops. So the mentors there. And then I met my business partner, and, he asked me if we wanted to open up a gym. And I guess the rest is history. That's kind of where it all started. And I'm just very grateful for those moments of opportunity and learning.
So opening up a gym, that's those are some of the harder businesses to open here in the US. Because there's a lot that goes into it, not only the capital expense that you need in order to, get the lease and then get all the equipment in, but then there's the whole marketing piece, right? You actually have to fill it with bodies. You have to get a lot of people to pay you either monthly or yearly, and then of course you have churn. Not everyone who pays you shows up, and then they end up canceling, and there's all kinds of there are all kinds of risks that go into it. How do you how do you manage through all that? Like, how did that part of learning the business come to light, and how have you been doing with those businesses, especially in light of the past year and a half we've all had, where businesses really had to be much more careful on who they were bringing in, who they were bringing into the business itself.
Yeah, it's a great question, and the two part of that to that is, in the beginning, we kind of knew that we were trying to capture a market share essentially, and we knew that it wasn't going to be for everybody. I think that was the first step to know, is that you're not going to be able to capture an entire, population of people that you want to capture. You're going to capture what is ideal for your product, right? So we had that understanding, and we knew that the market share we could get was going to be enough to profit from. So it was, using kind of the law of large numbers, just appealing to as many people as we could via, different ad resources, Facebook, word of mouth. We knocking door to door. I mean, you name it. We did everything. And it was really just about being gym people and knowing that sales was kind of the cure all in essence, just reaching as many people as we could, and just putting in the work, and that's kind of what made that happen and what made it a reality. You just couldn't really bypass that. So, just trying to reach as many people as you can, and then just getting better at the presentation of it, and understanding that you are going to lose people. And at the same time, it's just about finding those new people that believe in that, and that it's just a constant process that you never really, get comfortable with. You just always have to be on your toes and moving there.
All right, so cool. So one of the things that I find interesting, especially for people that own multiple locations, right, is that is simply a next level type of management that you need to master, right? And this actually segues nicely into your one big tip, which talks all about delegation, right? I was wondering if you can talk about a little bit about what it was like, first of all, with your first location, and then as you grew to the second and third one, how delegation came into play and how you use that today in order to make your businesses run as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing to take away from that is to develop a system or systems to tie down your processes and make them easier, sort of like a workflow essentially, and that to have your team members or employees be able to reference those processes and systems to move forward. And without that, it's going to be difficult because you're going to be the system, and they're always going to have to rely on you. So it's important to kind of differentiate that is to always have those in place. And, a lot of that's trial and error. You learn as you go. And you can kind of leverage that by talking to other business owners so that you can learn a little bit quicker. But systems and processes was key, and delegating non-important work that's kind of involved in the business. When we were at one location, we did everything. I mean, we cleaned, we sold, we presented, we trained people. It was we did it all, and it's important to do that so you can learn how it all works. But as you try to expand, and I think a lot of business owners get tied up in this, is that they tie their own time up working in the business and not on the business. And I think that's probably a popular phrase by now, but it's understanding when to pull back and when to delegate non-important work so you can actually make revenue for the company. That's the key. You want to think as any type of business person or entrepreneur is your number one focus is to generate. Will make your obviously team members, customers happy, but you need to generate revenue for the business and grow the business, right? So if you're busy doing stuff that's kind of below what your value or not your value in life, but your time, it's going to be tricky to grow and scale like that. So you got to determine kind of like what your time is worth, right? And what that looks like on an hourly basis. If it takes you, a couple hours to do one thing, and now you're stuck with that, you may have lost a couple of $100 in other things you could have done to further it. And it doesn't look that way when you look at it in the beginning in the micro, but on the macro level, it's big because it spreads so much over time. You do that every day over the course of a week. You're looking at 8 to 10 hours. So you want to learn everything so that you delegate and systemize or systematize the process, but don't abdicate at the same time. Be involved in the beginning a little bit, know kind of how things are, sort of oversee it, and then slowly start to back away, but still verify and check that things are going right. So that way, your systems and processes are working, and you prevent issues going down the road.
So, how did you use that process then to figure out what your true value is worth? I mean, like, I know for my, like on my side, what I did was I used to edit all of my episodes, right? And I would just, for a 20-minute episode, I would be there for the next 6 hours, right? Because obviously I'm not a great audio editor. I know how to hire out for it, but I was just like, nope, I got to understand this thing first. And then when I finally, broke down and said, okay, I got to hire out for this, it actually came down to a process where I was like, something, this guy can actually do it so much faster. He can burn through 3 or 4 episodes a day. I can continue to move on to another type of, to another type of value add where I am talking to more people like yourself, where I'm building up more courses and more, and more services for my clients. How did you like where do you find that breaking point? Where it's like, okay, I've mastered this part. I know exactly what needs to be done, but now it's time to give it off to somebody else. How do you measure where that inflection point is where you can actually move that particular task onto someone else so that they can be more effective at it?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, knowing what your business needs is important. So, what is breaking it down into kind of first principles is, okay, we got to generate, revenue. How do we generate revenue? Well, we have to reach more people. How do we reach more people? Well, we got to look and research. So if you're not doing that, then and nobody else is, then that growth isn't really happening in that direction. And then you need to start determining kind of as making a list at the end of the day, right? So my buddy, my business partner David, and I joked around a lot. Was we would come home from the day and we would feel tired, like we did a bunch of stuff, and then we said, at the end of the day, we kind of wrote down what each of us did, and we said, well, what did we even end up doing today? There were some days where we kind of laughed because we felt like we did a bunch, but we were just being productive, running in circles, and that's not necessarily effective, right? So, for example, we would go door to door, knocking on doors to give flyers out, give people. We were those guys, and once we did that, we said, okay, well, what's faster? How can we do this better? And we got email lists, we got flyers that went out to houses. So in a couple of clicks, we reached thousands of people, right? So that's like a little more of a primitive example of the effective versus productive route, and we kind of learned that as we went. But it's all about the effectiveness of your work and the results that you can bring from it. I think that's the important measure to have at the end of the day, is to sit down and just really objectively and look at it and say, what are those results? What do they look like? And what did I actually accomplish? And that's where you have to be very, very analytical with.
So when you go through that exercise, how do you measure the success, right? It's certainly not in the dollars and cents that you spent in order to get that off of your plate, right? But and also it could be measured a little bit in the effectiveness, or like actually getting that task done to help you grow your business. But what is your measure then for success, so that you really can just scratch that off your list entirely, make sure that the process is managed effectively, and then move on to the next big hairy goal?
I think the important that's a great question. The important thing is to know what it is that you need in that week, or have goals that you're trying to do. For example, if you want to expand business to business, you know that there's certain things that need to happen. So finding out what those steps look like, and then executing with speed, right? I think that's one of the most important things to remember as a business owner, is your value to time ratio and the speed at which things get done. If things don't get happen in time, then the business won't grow in time. If you're spending your time doing other things, then you have to calculate that value to time ratio. And I think those are the two most important things. Is if you want to grow business to business, how fast can you get these contacts contacted, and how can we get this process rolling now rather than next week, right? Because then you're looking at missed sales, missed opportunities, and missed things, and looking at it from a pain point like that is critical. So you kind of have to look at the things that you don't really want to look at. But that's important because it'll teach you a lot of what needs growth in, right? So trying to listen to what that pain is, those pain points are, and just really pay attention to those signals.
All right, cool. That is amazing advice. Thank you so much for that. Kwan, can you please tell everyone a little bit more about your podcast and how they can reach out to you directly if they'd like to learn more?
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, you can find me at thevalueverse.com, and ValueVerse on Instagram, and ValueVerse on all podcast platforms. So it's just mainly about, honest and informative conversations, just to take away benefits from, and valuable takeaways so it can benefit you in life and in business. So it's just my way of kind of giving back what I learned.
Amazing, amazing stuff. Kawan, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an excellent conversation. I love nerding out on these productivity tips. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Jeff, thanks again. It was my honor and pleasure. I really love the show. Thank you.